Hey there, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome to everybody who will be joining me live today. Welcome to everybody who will be joining in the replay. I wanted to share with you something because this question has actually come up quite a bit over the course of the last few days and the last week, as I've been talking to quite a few women who are interested in joining my Dating 3.0 program, all about how to date like a badass and rock your dates. And you know, if you've never had a coach, in particular if you've never had a love coach, if you aren't a coach, there's a fair amount of mystery about what actually goes down and what actually happens to help you get from where you are, which is not enjoying your dates, maybe sucking at your dates, maybe not getting any dates, to having a good time being in the dating world. And I've said this over and over, the only way to get to the end goal of meeting an awesome man is to enjoy the process of dating. So before we go any further, I'm going to briefly introduce myself. My name is Lisa Rose. I'm the founder of Deeper Love, Better Sex. I am a love and dating coach. And I especially support successful singles who feel very successful in their career, and they stand back and look at their dating life and are kind of like, what is going on here? I don't like this. This ain't working out for me. What do I do different? So if you want to feel as successful in your dating life as you do in your career, please stay tuned because I think you're going to enjoy this. So there's some very particular ways that having a conversation with a coach and working in the coach, by the way, if you're here or if you join the replay, please introduce yourself. I'd love to know who's here, and you're also welcome to leave a comment. If you are here, maybe just leave a comment so I'll know if I can see them, because so far they're not showing up. A lot of differences between working with a love coach and getting on the phone with your girlfriend commiserating about a bad date that you just had, the fact that you're not getting any dates, the fact that he hasn't texted you, the fact that he was interested and then he disappeared. We don't do commiseration on my calls, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what we do actually do, because I want to help you kind of have a feel for what it might be like to have the aid of a love coach. Me in particular, I can't speak for how other people work, and what that might mean for you as and how it's different from just getting on the phone with somebody that you talk to on a regular basis. So when my clients get on the phone with me, pretty much every session starts with, I ask them these three questions. What are you celebrating? What's going well? Right? What are you learning and discovering? And where are you feeling challenged or bumping up against an edge? So I'm going to pause and kind of slow those down here a little bit. So the first question, what are you celebrating and what's going well? I don't know about you, but a lot of my life, I did not have people in my world who were asking me that question. And by asking that question, it brings my attention to what I am celebrating and what's going well. And I know that the more that my attention goes on that, the more there is to celebrate and the more that goes well. So it's a pretty dramatic kind of shift of attention from what I'm not liking, what I'm complaining about, what sucks, to actually bringing into my awareness what I'm celebrating and what's going well. And on a vibrational level, there's a really big difference between how my body and my energy feels when I'm focused on what I'm missing and what I don't like. Believe me, I've spent plenty of time doing that. And what I'm celebrating, what's opening and unfolding and discovery, right? So that's the first question. The second question is, what are you discovering? You know, when I work with somebody, it's a very rich time of shifting out of patterns. First, discovering what the patterns are. Sometimes they're lifelong. Sometimes they're something that she or he has felt really stuck with because it's been intractable for a long time. So, hey, Wendy. So when something starts to shift, it's like really this very rich territory of something else becoming available and possible. And I know for me, and I certainly see this with my clients, that is so exciting to be able to get out of a pattern or a thought or a belief that's been holding me back for years or maybe my whole life, and to be able to do something different. So there's a lot of freedom and a lot of liberation and a lot of expansion that comes from that. And then the last question, where are you feeling challenged? What edge are you bumping up against? That's because my work is not cookie cutter. I don't have a formula, session 3, step 3, we do this. We work with what is going on for you, both strengthening the things that are really working well, because I know those are there too, but equally important, really addressing the places where you're feeling stuck, where you're not getting the result that you want. In the dating world, that means, sitting across from people, meeting men that you're like, God, you're so not what I want. You're so not how I thought who you're going to be from your profile, just all the different ways that it can go haywire. So that's kind of how we decide what to address and how to make the absolute best and optimal use of our time together. My sessions are often 50 minutes, and that's because we get a lot done. A lot of shit happens. And this particular program that I just created, Dating 3.0, it's a 1-month program. We meet 5 times. I've now taken a few cycles of clients through it, and I can see the before and after is very dramatic. So there are some people who need a longer run, depending on what they're coming in with. But Dating 3.0 is really very laser. We really focus on what's getting in your way. And for some clients, they don't really know. They just know that what's happening isn't what they want. That's where I was for a very long time, years ago. My love life, my dating life, it was a mess, but I didn't know what to change because it's like there were just a lot of things that didn't seem to be working out, but I really didn't know what to address. So that's kind of like the framework and the structure. And I want to give you a couple of examples that have just come up in the last period of time about, how this goes and what we do next when something is evoked and there's some decision about where to go with it. So I was working with a client recently, and she was talking to me about, she's been seeing this man. She's starting to open her heart to him. She's starting to feel a little bit vulnerable and also a little bit of excitement. And she noticed that he goes through cycles where he'll text a lot, and she'll feel really connected to him. And then other times where he's kind of like not texting at all, and she doesn't really hear from him. And in those moments, she starts to feel very anxious because she doesn't know if he's disappearing or if he's changing his mind or if he's just busy, but it creates anxiety in her. So we did 2 things. One, we addressed that level of anxiety so that he doesn't have to be responsible for quelling that and managing that, and she doesn't have to be uncomfortable by feeling so susceptible to that anxiety, whether or not, based on the condition of whether he's responding in a timely way. But then equally important, I asked her, have you let him know what your preference is? Have you let him know why it's important to you and what shifts for you when you hear from him on a more regular and less erratic way? And she said, well, I don't want to appear needy. I don't want him to, think that I'm some needy, crazy lady. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. So that's the belief, that's the feeling. So we worked on that belief and that feeling a little bit so it wasn't so prevalent in her. And then I gave her some coaching about how she could word it and how she could express that need and that desire in a way that gave him a lot of room to say yes or no, to understand what was important to her about, excuse me, I got an itch, and to not be kind of in the dark. I don't actually think that he knew that it really mattered to her one way or the other. So when I coached her through that, I sort of modeled some of the language. I gave her some ideas. She was like, oh, I had never really thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. And she decided that the next time they got together, that she was going to just kind of express that. It was an edge. It was a stretch. Of course, any new experiment or new pattern, new behavior, it's a stretch, right? So she was a little bit nervous. But she was hearing my words and my kind of cheerleading in her corner and for her success. And she said it was so much easier than she imagined. He was really warm to it. He was very appreciative that she was willing to be honest and vulnerable. And in particular, it gave him a chance to show up in a way for her that feels better than what he was doing. And to his credit, he was honest with her and said, There are days when I'm just jamming at work. Sometimes I'm at the office really long hours. I'm still thinking about you. If I'm not texting, it doesn't mean that I have forgotten about you or have gone away. But they very clearly decided that it wouldn't be more than every 3 days, because that's about as long as she could go without that anxiety kicking up. So it was a total win-win. It actually brought them a lot closer, and she's feeling much more relaxed and much more settled and much more connected. And she kind of told me, she said, I never would have thought about that. I never would have known how to frame that conversation, how to bring it up, how to have it, and how to let him know like why this is actually important. Because when she did that, she told me that she didn't feel needy, she felt empowered, like she got to just express something that was important to her. So that's just one example of what it would be like if you were a fly on the wall listening to some of my clients being coached. And I hope that it gives you an example and makes it less abstract and conceptual and gives you some sense of what that's like, so that it will help you to determine whether that might be helpful for you. If you are in the dating world or want to be in the dating world, tired of going on dates that suck, tired of not knowing how to make a shitty date a better date. I'm actually really good at that, because I've had a number of not so great dates. And 99% of the time, I'm able to turn them around to at least be somewhat enjoyable. Most of my dates I really enjoy. So here's the big news. Dating 3.0 is almost full. I will be starting a new round fairly soon. The price through today is $7.95, but the next round is definitely going up to $9.95, because I've been seeing the results that my clients get. It's actually worth quite a bit more to have your dating life and your love life turn around. And I've got a couple of spots, I think, this week to chat with you if you want to see if this is a fit. We can do a 20 minutes that leads to love session. I'm going to put the link for both the program and the link to my calendar in the comment section, so you can check it out. And if you have any questions, either just grab a time to chat. That's really probably the best way for us to go. And now that I've kind of walked you through it, I want to invite you to get out of your head, because there's so many women that I talk to who are so convinced that dating isn't going to work for them. It might work for their friend, it might work for the person who met their match online and fell in love, but it's not going to work for them. And some of those women become my clients, and then they discover that it actually can work for them. So I want to invite you to make this decision from your heart and from what you desire, rather than from your head and from a space of impossibility. So look forward to hearing your questions and your comments, and I'll be back at you soon. In the meantime, have an awesome day. Bye.